Let's work on the register complete page. So this page is going to be pretty similar to register page, but here we have only one field for user email, but there we will have user email and password. So we pre-populate the email, existing email from the local storage, and we ask them to enter the password. All right, so let's go create this new page. Auth, let's create one here. Register complete.js, and to make things easier, let's grab the code from register. Grab everything, let's copy and paste here in register complete. Change the name, register complete. Alright, so here we need one more field in the state for password. Set password equals to use state. By default it's empty. So the next thing we need is we also need a history object from the React Router DOM, and I guess we can destructure here as props, because you can see our entire application is wrapped with browser router. So that should give us the props history. We can destructure. We can either do props and then later here access props.history. History. Oh my god. History. That way we can access, or we can directly destructure history. Okay, I think this is much easier. Let's do that. So destructure history. The reason we need history is we can use then history.push method, history.push, and then we can push user to some page like dashboard or something like that. So that way when they complete the registration, they will be logged in, and then we can redirect them to wherever we want. For that reason we can use history. Okay, so we have added the password. We have destructured history props in the register complete. Now here this is going to be different, so let me just get rid of all this. We'll come back to it. Handle submit. So register form, previously we had register form. Now let's call this complete registration form, and let's change the name. Complete registration form. So here in the form we will show two input fields, one for email, one for password. But email we will not allow users to change. We will be grabbing from the local storage, right? So let's go on top. Here in the state we can populate the state value, the email, from the local storage, and for that we can use the use effect hook. Just like use state, there's another one called use effect. Okay, so this use effect runs when this component mounts for the first time, when it loads. All right, so here use state, we use state this way. So this is a function, it takes another function. All right, so we can use arrow function here. This is another function here. So that's the first argument. You can see in this use state function, arrow function is the first argument, and then second argument is going to be the dependencies. So you can control the behavior, not only that it runs when the component mounts. Maybe sometime when some values change in the state, maybe you want to run this function to do something, maybe fetch some data from the database, some API or something like that. So you can use this as the dependency array. For example, email or password. Okay, so if you put password here, whenever the password changes, this function will run. Okay, so we don't want that behavior now, but later you will see how we can use this, but at the moment just leave it empty. All right, so the first argument is the function, second argument is the dependency array. For the moment it's empty by default. Okay, so here we want to grab the local storage, the value when this component mounts, right? So let me just console log and show you before we populate this state. So console log window dot local storage dot get item. Previously we used set item, now we're using get item. And get item by the key, if you remember, we saved as email for registration. Okay, so for this to work, make sure you have previously tried to register here, and then when you did that, we land in this page and you can see inspect application, go to the local storage, and you can see we have this saved in the local storage. So when you're using the same browser, it will always be there. Alright, so that's the one we're trying to get. Okay, so let's save this and let's give it a try. Console log, let me refresh. Oh, actually we don't see anything here because we have only created the page, but we haven't used it in app.js. So let's do that. Let's bring this in, go to app. Alright, so import register complete from, so it's inside pages auth register complete. Okay, and let's add one more out here, register slash complete, and the component is going to be register complete. Okay, perfect. Let's try. Register form is not defined. All right, so back to register complete registration form. We change the name, and we had just copy paste, so let's just put that here, and register complete, let's change the name as well. And on this form we can give it a different name, complete registration. Okay, so you can see here we have the form register complete registration, and you can see when we land in this page, the first thing happened is use effect ran when the component mount, and that fetches the email from the local storage. You can try again. You can see we get that. Perfect. All right, so we can show that here in the input for field for email. So here we don't need the onChange handler, we need the value from the state. So instead of console log, we should populate this value in this state. So let's go on top, let's get rid of that and use set email. All right, so this way when the component mounts, the user's email from the local storage will be available in this state. So down here, so that's value, no autofocus on this one, and we're going to use the class name disabled. Okay, let's have a look. Okay, you can see user cannot change this now. Perfect. So that's good. Now let's create one more input field for password. We want to grab the user password, right? So type password, the class name form control value password onChange. We need onChange handler. OnChange, we get the event. We can set the state, set password. That's going to be event dot target dot value. And here we can use autofocus. We can even use the placeholder. We can say password or enter your password, something like that. Okay, that looks good. Let's have a look at the form. All right, maybe we can have a bit of a break here for the button. All right, so there will be email and there will be password. User can enter the password. then they will click on the complete registration button. So when the button is clicked, this function will run here, handle submit. So here we're going to do a couple of things. We're going to use a Firebase auth method called sign in with email link. So that way we will sign the user in, we get the signed in user's token, and we use that token to immediately update the user's password. All right, so since we have this email link, we can technically log the user in Firebase, and that is also known as passwordless authentication. All right, so we log the user with just the email link, and then immediately we update the user's password. So that way next time user can come back and log in with email and password. Okay, so we send this email link to users, right? So I used it in a bit of a clever way. You can think of that way, because if you go to the Firebase, if you go to the Firebase console, go to the sign in method, and go to the email and password, you can see we checked this option, passwordless authentication with email link. So this is the method we use to send an email to user to verify the email address. But I didn't talk like this about passwordless authentication, because this could make things complicated to understand in the beginning. But technically we can log the user without password with this email link, but we're not going to stop there, but instead we're going to ask user to enter the password and update the user's password as well. So that way next time when they come in, they can log in with email and password. All right, so let's continue that in this next lecture.